I'm assuming everybody's ultimate goal is just to stick around for as long as we can to experience life. That's why we do what we do for the most part. Because if we didn't want to, we would just leave, right? So everybody's efforts are to stay here. So all these efforts on feeling safe, doing things to be protected, doing things to make everything easy is really to stay here and supposedly enjoy the experience more, right? To receive happiness or peace or whatever. I receive peace or whatever you feel that is. Unfortunately, the efforts we're taking are in a way to disconnect us from the feeling. And if you think about this, the entirety of our lives are based around feel. That's one of the powers we have as human beings. Think about this. How do you know you're tired? You feel tired. How do you know you like them? I feel excited when I'm in their presence. I feel safe when I'm around them. How do you know you're hungry? You feel hungry. How do you know you should leave the meeting? I feel like I shouldn't be here. How do you know this person's probably not ideal? I just don't feel good around them, or I'm having to be somebody I'm not to stay under this roof, or I'm having to quiet my soul just to exist here and keep peace. I keep peace within the family. How do you know you should pursue that career as your pet? I feel passionate about it. I feel uncertain. I feel hot. I feel cold. I feel swollen. I feel achy. I feel inauthentic. I feel unworthy. I feel horny. Right? So feel. All right. So on the ends of everything, we end up doing things that have us disconnecting from the feel of that, to feel, to be, provide, to access safe and protection. But the reality is, and this is the kick I'm on as of right now, for every effort you choose to feel safe and protected, as that access is granted by that tool or by that person or by whatever you went to do to go get that, you have to then work 3 or 4 times more. You have to create a sensation that's 3 or 4 times more uncomfortable. You're going to have to, now that you've allotted this freedom of energy because this is being taken care of. So what are you going to do with the extra length of rope that you've been given? But we don't think that way. We just burn the rope. Example of this. So let's say you had to walk 2 miles. It was tiring, or it was scary, or it was through a neighborhood, and you had to think about and navigate, and you had to carry some things, maybe carry an instrument or carry tools or carry whatever, and it's, gosh, man, I just don't feel safe. I don't like it. I'm tired, or I'm injured, or I'm symptomatic, and I can't handle this level. All right, so you get a bike and you get a helmet. So now you cruise through that 2 miles. No problem. But what ultimately just happened? You are now going to struggle less. You are now going to not have to consider all the planning and strategy around navigating that minefield. You are no longer on the clip physically to prepare for 10 miles to walk 2. So now your physicality, your strength, your stamina, your understanding of your body completely lowered. But then think about this. Is that a bad decision from trying to enjoy this existence here? From trying to increase life? No, think about this though. But this is not where you're naturally going to go, especially where this is where you consciously have to go, especially where the stories around human function, human performance, and especially in all forms of medicine. So now you chose a bike for 2 miles, you've granted a helmet. You get there in 1/8 of the time. You don't have to think about safety or anything else. That's less energy of you worrying on your trip, of you being kind of stressed. You don't have to carry your instrument or carry the tools because they're in the basket or they're hooked up. Okay. So now what have you been given? 7/8 more time to apply to something you could challenge yourself with, or really light yourself up. The energy cost to feel safe that the helmet gives you or the bike gives you, what are you spending that energy on now? What other things are you going to do? What other challenges are you going to bring in? So this is what I'm saying. You can choose the avenues of feeling less, being more safe, being protected. But when you do choose that, then you go 4, 5, 6 times more on what you've gained. Think about, I've done this twice. Think about living with a family member, being gifted time to live with a family member as you're trying to figure out career to save rent. A lot of people have heard this. We live with our parents, or you live with family, and it's a means to save rent as you're figuring out what to do. Great. So twice for me. On day one, the first time, like within the first weekend, I had 3 jobs. And in the second round, I had saved so much, I was then able to crash for 6 months at my buddy's and then move here and start a business and publish a book and do all these things based on the savings that I had created from that. So again, there's nothing wrong with getting a handout from someone or getting help or getting ease or having a safety net come with a hand trying to pull you out of from drowning. But with that salvation of that, with that granted less energy, more time, more, use that to then capitalize on yourself. Otherwise, the work you're going to need from the ease of you sitting around on the couch because you don't have to pay rent is going to be even more, because your body has one way to live, and then within that there are infinite poetic levels, but there's rules and laws that you have to abide by. It's the same thing with, we do this all the time, and let's swing it back to medicine. We have surgeries. As I said, surgery is not a solution. Surgery might be some sort of a life raft to get you from you drowning to this island, so that then you can go figure out your survival, your thriving on that island. Don't be a surgery to then bring you to another sinking ship that then you're going to be drowning again, and then it's like you don't have the organ that you needed or the piece of body that you had in the first place. So choose a surgery. But if you're going to choose a surgery, you have to go 4, 5, 6 times more work, more accountability, more responsibility, more discomfort because of that bicycle helmet, or because of that bike, or because of that person in your family allowing you to stay at their house to save rent. Same thing with medication or herbs or supplements. We do all these avenues. We take all this stuff to prevent, or we take all this stuff to not feel our symptoms so that we feel better, so that we feel safer. Because when we do a preventative measure, then we won't end up like our aunt, uncle, cousin, mom, dad. But there's a little twist with the mindset of what happens with the surgeries and the medicine and the hacks and all those other things. Every single time a gesture like that is received or instituted, you are further hammering, owning the story that you don't trust you. And you will have to meet that face to face at some point. That is why I am saying it is better to face that going through the symptoms and injuries of any time, rather than diluting them to a later point to then have to face it 11 years later or 12 years later or 3 months later. So there's this thing that happens with being safe and protected within medicine. All forms of medicine do this. There is no form of medicine that understands human healing. Not one. Not one. And you'll understand this as you pull it apart and quit trying to protect whatever the fuck you're trying to protect to feel safe, so that you don't have to be accountable on it. And I understand it. But when you pull this apart by looking at the information on my walls, you will get to a point there is no form of medicine, because every single one has, with every single effort, circling back to distrust in your body, distrust in yourself, distrust in everything. That's the same thing that happens with trying to fix mechanics so that you don't get injured. Then you don't trust that your body would be able to tell you prior to, or even a bicycle, how am I doing bicycle? I don't trust my body to be able to get me to and from. I don't trust myself to be able to handle an accident. And that might make sense, but then you're going to have to acknowledge that and do the work to then earn that trust back. That every gesture of every supplement, of every herb, of every medication, of every surgery, of every hormone, of every peptide, of every stem cell has mindset, the perpetual, the memorization, the conditioning, the over and over and over and over and over, and training yourself to distrust you more than gaining trust in some other bail. So, to feel safe, do less, feel less, experience less. You're going to have to do more if that's your goal, or just understand that it's all for you. That's the starting point, and then the work and the discomfort and everything else just is a part of the deal. No discipline needed, because that's bull. If you need discipline, you're needing to do something that you know isn't true or natural or good for you, like military. Guys, they preach discipline. That's just because they needed discipline, because every ounce of their being was telling them, no, do not do what you're doing right now, to then train and get these people prepared to do something that is so not human, not natural instinctively. But as far as what I'm talking about, you don't need discipline to pet your cat or love your dog or kiss your spouse or partner goodbye in the morning. You don't need discipline to wash your balls or wash your feet or wash your... You don't need discipline to make dinner. You don't need discipline to plant a flower. You don't need tend to it. There's no discipline. If discipline's needed, then you don't understand the reasoning as to why you would do this. So choose the bailouts, choose the safety, choose the handouts that you can get from family, or a surgery, or herbs or supplements or medications, but you got to understand what the cost is, and you got to understand what's on the record, because you won't be able to run from you. You're going to come toe to toe with yourself at some point. Might as well do it as close as you can to the symptoms or the struggle or the accident or the trauma or the emergency. But at any time you can figure this out. Choose to, I'm ready to understand. All right, let's go to work.